Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about some artsy-fartsy cults. Now, don't take it at face value because a cult... What is a cult? Do you know what a cult is? Define cult. I guess I can't do it in airplane mode. Define cult.
Here's the definition of cult. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object.
Or a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Or a misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. Or in this case, the arts. A person or thing that is popular or fashionable, especially among a particular section of society. So today we're going to be talking about cults. Now, it's not going to be in the cult that you're thinking like religious or whatever. We're going to talk about the artsy-fartsy people who it could be said that they're kind of like a cult. Now, why do I define like artsy-fartsy people as cults? Now, here's why. Because it is devotion directed towards a particular figure or object, or in this case, specific parts of the arts, or a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister, like when people come together and like do weird cheers right before a show, or misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. So I think that the arts could definitely fall in the cult category. If you disagree, comment below. Hey, it's Serene here at Serene Vocal Studio. We're going to talk about the arts today. People of the arts. You know, all the people who you grew up with being as strange or cult-like, so to speak. Now, we're going to talk about a few different categories. Some of those categories include choir, band, orchestra, theater, and all your solo people. What? So stick around if you'd like. It's going to be a fun video. Comment below. Give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me. And it is a free way for you to give me some love on YouTube. Also, please subscribe if you enjoy this content or you think I'm cool or you want to hang out with me or if you know me personally. Subscribe. Ring the bell, all that jazz. So the first category we're going to talk about is choir. There are several different choirs when I think of choir. I think of school choir. I think of the audition choir at school. For me, growing up, it was called madrigals. Were you in madrigals or not? And I even asked one of my students here. She said, oh, I got into the audition choir at school. And I was like, you mean madrigals? And she's like, what? No, not madrigals. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then you also have your church choirs. This realm of choral people, depending on the group, can be either really, really amazing and wonderful and you can have such a community experience, or it can be one of those that's kind of snobbish and you can have a really bad experience. Like if the people in charge are really focused on perfection and telling you when you're not perfect. You know what I'm saying? For example, if you were in choir and you've worked so hard and you can tell that your neighbors have practiced and you are just singing your hearts out and the choir director stops you and goes, that was not perfect. I expect perfection from you at every conjecture. And so they stop their baton and they're like, that was not perfect. And either they go to, you haven't practiced. This is your fault. You need to practice. I've told you you needed to practice every single day. Practice your face off. Or they go into, do you not love me? You know, I really believe in this choral thing. And you must not believe in it. I put in 50 hours a week plus. And you put in what, an hour every day, maybe? Here, when I force you to sing? I can't believe that you would hurt me so. I can't believe that you would do it. So it either goes to, it's your fault, or I can't believe you don't like me, and I can't believe you are not up at the expectation that I thought you would be by now, and thus you have no respect for me. Something like that. Man, I tell you, if you were a choral teacher watching this, please take the higher road, the positive road. Anytime you get into guilt mode or mode of like blame, it's never going to be pretty, and your choral people are going to want to leave you. Let's talk for a minute about madrigals, i.e. audition choir in high school. Those are the people who are going to be like, I made it into madrigals. And either they're super snotty and like won't talk to you because they're like better than you, or they're so nice that you just can't help but love them. I feel like it was really one or the other. And then there's those people who just don't talk to you because they are just really shy, and you think they're stuck up, but they're not stuck up because they're actually just really shy. So whatever. Now let's talk about church choir for a minute. There's a couple different types of church choirs, and I'm not going to pretend to know all of them, but we're going to talk about the ones that I'm familiar with and maybe a little bit of what I know about what other people are familiar with. Church choir. My mom was called as the choir director, and she was the choir director for like 10 years at our church. And as the choir director, I was, i.e., forced into singing in the choir, saying, I'm the choir director, since I'm the choir director, you have to sing. And sometimes it was like, okay, fine. And other times it was like, yeah, sure, I'll go sing with you. We're going to do some fun music. It'll be a good time. And other times you're like, oh my gosh, none of my friends go. I wonder why. Why is it all the old people I have to go sing with? And you're like, 10, 11, 12, 13, and you're the only person your age there. Oh, the joy. And the one time that you invited a friend to go with you, that day, mom was not directing. No. Dad, who is also a music person, was filling in for mom, who was not there that day. And Dad happens to be a perfectionist. Dad, I love you so much. Perfectionism, not helpful in a choral setting when it's a volunteer choir. You look back and it was kind of funny, but at the time it wasn't super funny. So we sing this particular phrase, right, in the song that we're doing. And he's like, stops us, and he's like, goes up to my friend, and he's like, are you singing the wrong note? You're singing the wrong note. That's out of tune. We need to sing the right note. And like totally singles her out. And I was like, Dad, don't stop. Stop! And needless to say that my friend never joined me at choir again. I think it was quite embarrassing, and I felt really bad that had happened on that particular day, because then that meant I wouldn't have friends in choir, and my friend was embarrassed, and, life goes on. Anyway, so I generally was forced to sing in church choir. It ended up being great. I enjoyed it most of the time, but sometimes it was just going to sing with a lot of old people. I know some people have the experience of being in like a gospel choir, and oh man, if I was down south, I feel like I could have been in that choir. It would have been so fun. They always seem like they have such fun because they like move and dance, and oh my gosh, to be in a gospel choir. I missed out. Now the next category we're going to talk about is the band people. Band people. Now, at one point or another, you may have thought they were completely psycho people, or you may have had a crush on one of them, but you wouldn't tell anybody because they were a band person. Who were you? Now, these kids, like I said, were either really cool and you kind of looked up to them, or they were a little bit quirky, or a mesh of both. There was like some cool kids who were in band, but there was also some quirky kids, and they would just kind of all mesh together, and somehow it just worked. Band was amazing, and people who were not in band, like me, were kind of jealous of the people that were in band because they seemed like they had such a good community of quirkiness and acceptance. And maybe it had to do with the fact that they would rehearse during class, but then they would also rehearse after class, and they would also rehearse after school, and sometimes on the weekends, and then whatever marching gig they had, and life goes on. They had a lot of fun together. I feel like the band kids were quite nice, like overall, but if you were somebody from orchestra trying to like get in with the band kids, it felt a little awkward because they would tend to have their inside jokes and their little things that they did that made you feel like, I don't know what's going on. You couldn't really get in unless you were in band. The next category we're going to talk about is orchestra. While I run a vocal studio and I'm a singer, I was in orchestra in high school, and it was a blast, and I loved it. The orchestra I was in was an after-school orchestra, which was super fun because, there was those people in orchestra because they had to pick a class, and they were just there just for, having to be there. But like after-school orchestra was mostly the people who wanted to be there and people who enjoyed playing music together. And actually, my after-school orchestra was actually a symphony, so it also encompassed all of our band kids as well. So that was really fun. For those who were in school orchestra, sometimes somewhat forced. But in high school, I feel like it gets less forced and you get more of like the people who actually want to be there. And the after school is like the really super overachievers who are in school orchestra, but then they're also in after school orchestra or after school symphony, who just love it so much and all their friends are going, so why not? Now, in orchestra, there's a bit of a competition happening. They rank you, like when you join an orchestra, i.e. symphony, you are ranked by ability, and the first chair at the very front by the director is the person who is like the violinist is the concert master, but you have a first chair in. So there's first chair in violin 1, violin 2, viola, cello, and so on and so forth, and basses and all of that. And they kind of are ranked and they kind of go back and forth. First chair, second chair, blah, 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 blah. And generally the people who knew they were really good knew that they could get first or second chair, and they'd be like really like confident, like, I know I'm amazing. I can totally do this, right? They were the people who practiced 2 or 3 hours a day, right? If you were kind of in my shoes, you may have been the ones who were a little bit less confident and a little bit more like, can I be near the back, please? And in fact, can I play second violin? They're less high notes. I can hit those, and they're slower. Everything's good in the second violin section. It feels happier to me. But there was some competition between the ones who were really good, but mostly the ones who knew they weren't as good were like, we're okay with sitting back here, less pressure. The next cult we will talk about is theater. Theater! Theater! It's all theater. Cloak and dagger, darling. There is so many layers to theater people. Where should I start? Theater people. I love me some good theater people. I actually grew up in a private performing arts school where theater was part of the gig, and I grew up around theater. I'm like 3 running around and they're doing Dracula, stuff like that. So the different people in theater, you have your performers, you have your directors, you have your producers, but then you also have your tech people. Oh my gosh. And your art people. Your tech people will include your light people, your sound people, your design people, and like the props people and all of that. Now, with your light and sound people, you always want to be nice to them. You never want to be like snotty and rude to them because they're the ones that make you look good and sound good. And if you want to look crappy or sound crappy, you can be a jerk to them, at your own risk. But these people, if you're actually nice to them and get to know them, they're actually some of the coolest people in theater to hang out with because they are so fun and funny and quirky, and they're a little bit like the band people who have been like, I want to do theater, and they're like, that's where they go first. They don't go straight to, I'm going to be the lead role. No. They're like, I'm going to help out with the lights maybe, the sound. I'll run around for the sound directors and do stuff. They're the people who might be a little bit more shy. One of the girls I grew up with, who was one of the little sisters, who kind of was in the background. She wasn't really a tech person at this point, but she was like one of the family members who was just kind of in the background. She has turned into this freaking pop star, and she has grown into herself, and she is a theater person. She is a performer, but like back when I knew her, she was so shy, and I didn't really know her, and she didn't really say much. It was always like, she could kind of fade into the background. But now, oh my gosh, she just has come into her own. Love her. Past that, you have your triple threat people. Your people who can act, who can sing, and who can dance. Your triple threats are people who always get the lead in a show, right? They're the ones that constantly are auditioning and getting things. And they took dance growing up. They took singing lessons growing up. And they were the people who were always in your acting classes in high school, college, and everything. So those triple threat people, they're a force to be reckoned with. Now, past your triple threat people, we also have the people who are super strong in music, who are in theater. Those people are so much fun to play with because they will rock your socks in like Into the Woods or Les Miserables or whatever. But they also do have to have the acting in it too. You can't just be amazing at singing and not any good at acting, because if you have one without the other, you can't really make it in theater. But there more likely is going to be people who can sing and act and not be able to dance as well. Or there's this whole range of people who are like, I can sing, but I can also dance, and I'll just kind of fumble my way through the acting. But those people are so important too, because you have a lot of shows with a ton of dancing in it, and that's a whole cult unto itself, let me tell you. Lots of competition there. The last group of artsy-fartsy cult people I want to talk about is your soloists. Your soloists who will sing a solo in front of anybody, anytime, anywhere, any place. These people you kind of want to hate. You really do. But some of them you can't hate because they're so nice. But then some people who are soloists, you want to hate, and you do hate them because they're kind of jerky. So don't be a jerk. The soloists like this are going to be the people who are constantly getting asked to sing the national anthem at places. They're going to be asked to sing solos in church. They're going to be the people who are also doing theater and Broadway review shows. You know how they do like Broadway review and they have like tons of different like artists come in, or people who are like really good at singing, and they'll ask them to be the one to sing the songs. Yeah, they do Broadway reviews, these soloist people. So then we have also the loud people in choir who like to think of themselves as soloists, but really they're just insanely loud, like all the time. They talk loud, they laugh loud, they talk when the director's talking, but then when they sing, they also sing so loud, and you're like, you realize this is a choir setting, not a soloist setting, right? Those are the people who always audition for the solos. And sometimes they get them because sometimes they're legitimately amazing. Other times, they're less amazing. We love them anyway. We accept them. But they're the people who are like, can you stop talking, please? I can't hear. I can't listen to what the person's saying. But those are also another form of solo people. You know, I'm really curious, which category were you in, or are you in currently? Because you can change your groups from time to time, or you can have multiple, right? There was a time when I was in orchestra, choir, and theater, and soloist land. So it's like, it just depends on where you're at. But wherever you're at, try to be a good person and be a nice human. Be kind to those around you. Don't be a jerk. Don't be prideful and like, I am so much better than everyone else around me. No. You're not going to make friends that way. People are not going to want to work with you if you are that way. But if you are kind to everybody and you have nice things to say, like genuinely, not like, you are so cute and like, you know, fakely and telling people fake things that you don't even care about, but like, be a good person, have integrity. If you say you're going to do something, do it, follow through, be somebody who's on time, and always show up and be the person who is kind and nice and not the person that everybody is going to want to hate. That's my spiel about artsy-fartsy cults. If you enjoyed this video, if you have additional information about each of the groups of the different arts categories, groups of people, it kind of feels like a cult, and sometimes it looks like a cult from the outside and you're like, man. And sometimes you can wish to be in one of the groups and you're not. Like, say you're in choir and you want to be a theater person and you're just like, oh my gosh, they just have such good community, they have so much support for each other, I just want to be a part of that family. You can absolutely join a theater. Just start doing it. You just can't sit on your hands and like stop and be like, I can't do that because I'm a choir person. No. Choir people, you can learn how to be a theater person. If choir people, you can learn how to be a theater person if you so desire. You may have to learn some new skills. You may have to learn how to sing a little bit differently and less chorally, which is fine. And if you desire to be in a different cult than you're in right now, go for it. Absolutely. Now, don't hate me for calling this all cults. You know, it's all good fun, right? It's just a definition. A definition of something that sometimes can look from the outside strange and odd from people looking in going, why do they love that so much? Why do they keep doing that to themselves? Like people who audition and audition and audition and audition, and they're like, isn't that painful? Yes, it is. But it's very much like a high. A high similar to those people who find, you know, excitement in doing crazy things like crazy roller coasters and finding thrills in skydiving and all sorts of things. It's very similar to what you experience in those types of situations. It's just more I'm going to put this upon myself. You know what I'm saying? You're signing up for it. And I guess you're signing up for skydiving, but it's different but similar, if you know what I mean. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I'd love to see you here on my channel. I would love to know which category you belong or want to belong or have belonged. Thanks for joining me here today in the studio. I will see you next time at Serene Vocal Studio. Take care and have a happy Thanksgiving. Wait, is Thanksgiving past? I will see you next time here on my channel. Take care and have an amazing week. Peace.